and he has 3 homes as primary and 2 on adjoining streets, and they're all going into a short sale situation. Then he realized, okay, well, his dad passed on, left him a whole lot of money. Now he's going to try to save the property. He's got 7 more up in the city called Red Bluff, way up north. Those are going to go bye-bye. They're gone. But the 3, though, 2 of which are rental investment properties, depending on how you put on your tax return, that we're actually trying to save the houses. And so far, his primary in 1 house, we are saving. So banks are more concerned with your primary residence than they will be on your 2nd, 3rd, or 4th or vacation homes. They'll probably be more or less concerned about those because people have to live in their primary homes. But case by case, obviously there can't be equity and they're upside down. Okay.
But will the bank insist, if they have the money in their primary, that they take from the primary
Possibly.
and put into the...
Yes.
That's the question.
Yeah, because again, see, on a hardship application, it's like a personal financial statement. Okay, what are your assets and liabilities? They'll have you fill out a PFS, personal financial statement. If you see you got 200, 300, 400 grand sitting in your primary, yeah, let's milk that first to catch up on these if you want to keep it. Yes. Any monies, they want you to be broke.
Well, let's say that you sell it at a discount to short sale.
Yes.
Will it be an automatic deed? And then Baz, why don't you, I think this is probably the question Baz is about to answer.
Yeah.
Will it be an automatic deed against that property if they know there's equity and they sell one of the investments short?
I don't know. I'm talking about a lawyer. I can't say that. I'm not a lawyer. Yeah.
You know, most of the time, those type of questions, they're going to go right to the lender right away.
Yeah.
Before they go to the
Case by
agent, because
case
they're going to say,
yeah.
hey, you're my lender. I'm making my payments to you. This is my situation.
Yeah.
And there's 2 situations. Like, for example, I have an borrower who came to me 3 years ago when she did a loan with wholesale.
Yeah.
And she's like, look, I'm under. I owe more than what my house is worth. What am I going to do? I said, let's take a look at your application. At least it's in my system. I said, you're making this much money. You have this much in assets. To save yourself, can you pull this money out? That person, there's 2 situations. They either have the money, and yes, pull it out and save yourself because you want, like you said, your primary residence is your primary residence. That's your home, your shelter. Or 2, they don't have it. So they're going to look at that. If you do have it, they're going to ask you, take it, use it. Right away, they will. Because the bank, I mean, honestly, the bank does not want the property.
No.
If you want you to keep it.
They want to keep it. And also, she made a good point. What's your name?
Angela.
Angela made a good point. IRAs, like at 401ks, they're exempt from bankruptcy. But because of changing the laws 2.5 years ago, I've seen bankruptcy courts, hold your bankruptcy filing hostage until you milk equity out of your 401k. Okay? I've seen it happen. Saying, okay, well, you've been approved, but you know what? Your lawyer says yes, but we're going to hold it hostage. And we know we can't touch with, not IRS can touch with a 10-foot pole, but $500,000 sitting there. But okay, your bankruptcy's for $300,000. Okay, well, take it out. You know, outside of capital gains and other types of tax consequences, sometimes it may be a good thing to take it out, because if you pay 20% capital gains but everyone's charging 50% penalties and fees, it might be worth it, but talk with your CPA first.
Is that when you
but
put
they
it
can
in
hold
an
it hostage.
irrevocable trust?
Well, be careful, because if you flip it into something new like that, the IRS is going to know, or they're going to know. That can go against you, bite you right here. Yeah, I know. But be careful though. But then I send hold files hostage until further notice. In the meantime, all the creditors are calling you.
Sorry, can we go back to the question? The reason I'm asking that question is because I'm doing a short sale for my client, and she got an offer from the bank to do the deed in lieu of foreclosure. So she's asking me, is it better to go ahead to do with the deed in lieu of foreclosure instead of the short sale?
Well, for short sale would be healthy if it goes smooth. No problems, it's sold, discount, everyone's on the same page in writing. That's obviously healthy. But in lieu of foreclosure, that will show up on the report, dropping the score 30, 60 points right away. I don't know. And then if it's sold or in process or it's just foreclosed on, then it may take a couple years to gain that.
Oh, you mean it will start right away? It won't be effective?
Would usually not right away, but let's say it goes into foreclosure this month, it'll show up 30 days later. Just like a late. Just like a late. Yeah.
Then let's table that, because maybe Robert will have an attorney come out and speak on
Yeah.
that subject with us.
Yeah.
How would everyone appreciate that?
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah.
Who's a bankruptcy / short sale attorney?
Yeah.
Because I see a lot of these questions are going that way.
Right.
Let's going back to fixing people's credit.
Yeah, exactly.
For
So,
the rest of
right,
the room.
so,
I'm trying, but
yeah.
this is a little different class. We've had
Yep.
this class 28 times, so I wanted to put the short sale foreclosure element into it.
Okay. Now, there's earlier about checking your own credit frequently makes sense. You have to check your own credit. Don't be part of that 79th percentile. And I wish I had that board to write on, but according to Fair Isaac, 1915, or actually according to Census Tract, 1915, we had about 100 million people living in the United States. 1967, the year I was born, before you were born, 200 million people. October 06, we passed 300 million people. And they predict the year 2043, we're going to have 400 million, and so we're going to be mini China one day. Which means that scenario, one police officer for every 1 million people in San Jose, we need to police our own credit to make sure no mistakes happen. Which means that on today's population growth, on average, according to Fair Isaac, one person in the country writes, emails, calls, or faxes the bureaus an average of 5 times a day saying there's something wrong on my report. Part of that 79 percentile we talked about earlier, which results, if you do your mathematics, 1.5 billion calls go in every day to all 3 bureaus saying correct something on my report. 1.5 billion. Maybe you should write that so people look at it. You know, it's amazing. You know, well, I'll write it down. Okay, this is how many calls every day, emails, whatever, go in the bureaus. There's something wrong on my report. 1.5 billion.
That's current today.
Give or take, could be 900, could be 2, but it's just a ballpark number that this is how many. So knowing that if this many calls go in, and ones that raise your hand about not checking your credit more than a year or two, check it. Don't be part of that mistake. Because if 21% is actually having correct credit, and the other 79% are not, then you got to take it upon yourself to make sure you're not part of that mistake tile. And guess what? It's costing consumers billions, trillions in credit card extra fees, car loans, as well as mortgages. Trillions, guys. You know, extra that these lenders are making because of mistakes that are not your fault. Okay, does it make sense? Did anyone not know this?
How do they handle that volume?
Well, what they do, of course, everything is computer generated, obviously. Nowadays, by the way, when you call or write the bureaus, it goes to India, you know, overseas. But most part, though, is all done by computer. And the way you can police yourself is that when the things are done by computer or phone call, if you're lucky to get through to anybody, that check it monthly or quarterly using like myfico.com and make sure you stay on top of it so you're not part of that large mistake tile, okay? But how do they make the calls? Somehow they do.
And by law, how long time frame do they get to rectify?
30 or less days.
By
Yeah,
law?
right. State of Maine's 21 days, Arizona's going to be going to 18 days pretty soon, but otherwise it's 30 days.
It does work. Robert's going
Yeah.
to touch on that. One last
Yeah, I'll show you.
real estate related side.
Yep.
One last thing. Has to do with HELOCs and standalone seconds. Now, the big thing that's happening in our industry is a lot of banks put a HELOC as a revolving line of
Yep.
credit. Now, everyone that was smart enough to realize that that was actually more like a big credit card
Yeah.
complained to their bank and said, I need this to be a standalone second. Now, the ones that are showing up as revolving, guess what the banks are doing? Not some of the banks in the room, but other banks. They're basically saying, oh, well, you've used 30,000 and 50, so we're freezing you at 31,000. Well, how can you do that? Well, it's a credit line. Well, how is it a credit line? I thought this was a mortgage. Well, no, it's not a mortgage. It's actually like a credit card.
Yeah, it is. It either a check access, now they give you like a Visa, MasterCard attached to it. It's a gigantic credit card. The only difference is it's backed up by real estate. And I don't care if it's a 16th mortgage or a second mortgage, it's got to be a mortgage. And how can you turn that on the report? Well, if it says R for revolving or REV for revolving, then you know it's under revolving. They just put it on the wrong category on the report. There's 3 types of primary credit on a report: mortgage, installment like car loans or student loans, and of course revolving. Revolving can make it or break your score. We'll talk about that in a little while. So if in a case where it shows up because it says home equity revolving line of credit, you know, because FICO, when it's, the bureaus go, when the credit goes report to the bureaus, it says home equity revolving line of credit, that R in the center, the bureaus pull in as revolving, not mortgage, causing the credit report to offset.
Be different rules for it too, aren't there?
Yeah.
In terms of short sailing it.
Well, that's a different area to cover, but yeah, essentially that way.
That is true.
Yeah.
They look
Yeah.
at it differently, and that's why I'm
They do.
encouraging all of you to go over another reason to call your clients. We all need a reason right
Yeah.
now. Is to say, have you studied? One thing I've learned that certain banks have frozen lines because they
Yeah.
were actually revolving lines. Maybe we should take a look at what your second is, just to make sure you're protected in case you're counting on that money for college, graduation, an upcoming wedding. It gives you, the lender and the realtor, a reason that you're their trusted advisor.
Yeah.
They're doing that now without any notice. I
I
know
know.
this for a fact. Someone had 250 in Hillsborough, and he was planning to use it, cut by 150,000, never used it. Good credit. He sent them a letter, it's capped at 100K, and this is happening. And
Yeah.
to other people, they just froze it,
Yeah.
period.